Sometimes the biggest challenge in marriage is not a lack of love. Sometimes it's what happens when life suddenly changes direction. Mommy Gio tells the story of Chia and Andy, a couple whose marriage is tested when a calling from God collides with the future they had carefully planned together. At first, everything seems to be working out for Chia. He is respected in the financial sector, trusted by major clients, and positioned for what could be the biggest breakthrough of his career. One of his wealthiest clients is even willing to follow him if he decides to leave his current company and start his own investment firm. For many people, that sounds like the perfect opportunity, the kind of opportunity you pray for, the kind of opportunity you don't walk away from. But while Chia is expecting direction about business, he receives something completely different. He becomes convinced that God is calling him into ministry, not business, not finance, not entrepreneurship, ministry. And that is where the movie truly begins. The moment Chia shares this revelation with his wife, Andy, everything changes. What should have been a joyful conversation quickly turns into confusion, frustration, and fear. Andy isn't excited. In fact, she is completely against it. Not because she doesn't love God, not because she lacks faith, but because she never imagined herself becoming Mommy Gio. The movie deserves credit for how honestly it presents Andy's concerns. Too often, films make one side obviously right and the other obviously wrong. Mommy Gio doesn't do that. Instead, it allows viewers to understand both perspectives. From Andy's point of view, her fears make sense. She worries about the pressure that comes with being married to a pastor. She worries about people judging her clothes, her business, her personality, and every decision she makes. She worries about losing the normal life she enjoys. Most importantly, she worries about the future. Who will pay the bills? What happens to their plans? Why would God suddenly change everything? These are questions many viewers would probably ask if they found themselves in her situation. On the other hand, Chia is dealing with his own struggle. He isn't chasing popularity. He isn't looking for attention. He genuinely believes God is calling him to something bigger than himself. The problem is that following that calling begins to cost him almost everything. His marriage becomes strained, his relationship with his wife suffers, his career starts falling apart. Eventually, he even loses his job after his boss wrongly assumes he was trying to steal a major client. Watching Chia go from a successful professional to an unemployed man struggling to provide for his family creates some of the movie's most emotional moments. You can't help but wonder whether he made the right decision. And that is one of the movie's greatest strengths. It constantly challenges viewers to think. Would you obey God if obedience threatened your comfort? Would you continue if everyone around you thought you were making a mistake? Would your faith survive if things became harder instead of better? These questions stay with you throughout the film. One thing I particularly enjoyed was how realistic the marriage felt. The disagreements between Chia and Andy didn't feel forced. They felt like conversations real couples would have. There were moments of frustration, moments of misunderstanding, moments where both people believed they were right. Yet underneath all the arguments was a genuine love for each other. That emotional foundation keeps the audience invested in their relationship from beginning to end. The supporting characters also contribute significantly to the story. Some encourage Chia to pursue God's calling. Others encourage Andy to support her husband. Then there are those who unintentionally become examples of the very problems Andy fears. As the fellowship begins to grow, people start placing expectations on her. Some criticize her wine business. Others criticize her appearance. Some believe a pastor's wife should behave a certain way. Others think she should dress differently. Before long, Andy finds herself being judged by people who barely know her. This part of the movie was particularly interesting because it highlights an issue that exists in many faith communities. People often expect spiritual leaders and their spouses to fit into a specific mold. When they don't, criticism follows. Andy becomes the target of those expectations, and viewers can clearly understand why she struggles with the title Mommy Gio. The movie also explores themes of gossip, pride, forgiveness, repentance, and personal growth. One subplot involving infidelity serves as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Some people who seem successful on the outside are fighting battles nobody sees. I also appreciated how the story avoids rushing character development. Andy doesn't suddenly wake up one morning and become supportive. Her journey takes time. She questions, she resists, she argues, she struggles. And because her transformation happens gradually, it feels believable. The same applies to Chia. He is not portrayed as a perfect man who never doubts himself. There are moments when he feels lost. Moments when he questions whether he is hearing God correctly. Moments when the weight of leadership becomes overwhelming. Those struggles make his character more relatable. As the story progresses, the fellowship grows. Lives are impacted, and testimonies begin to emerge. Yet even then, Chia realizes something important. He has not fully obeyed the instruction he believes God gave him. He started a fellowship when God told him to start a church. That realization becomes a major turning point in the movie. It raises another challenging question. Can partial obedience produce complete results? The answer the movie presents is clear. Eventually, both Chia and Andy must decide whether they are willing to trust God's process completely. The final act delivers emotional moments that feel earned because viewers have witnessed every struggle, disagreement, sacrifice, and setback along the way. By the time the church finally opens, it feels less like a grand achievement and more like the conclusion of a difficult journey. A journey that transformed both husband and wife. Overall, Mommy Gio is a movie about faith, marriage, sacrifice, purpose, and growth. It reminds viewers that God's plans do not always align with our own plans. Sometimes the path we never wanted becomes the path we were meant to walk. The film asks difficult questions without forcing easy answers, which makes it engaging from beginning to end. If you've ever struggled with purpose, wrestled with a major life decision, or found yourself at odds with someone you love over the future, there is a good chance you'll connect with this story. Have you watched Mommy Gio on Love Story Media and John Eckenham TV? Go watch it and come back here. I really want to hear your thoughts. Were you on Andy's side? Did you agree with Chia? Would you have supported your spouse's decision? Let's discuss in the comments.